Hey guys, I'm gonna review Star Wars Andor right now. Okay, so if I had to put it in just 5 words, like let's just skip to the good part, right? I loved it. I would probably rate it something like it's hard, but I'd give it a good 9 out of 10, maybe. So and I love what they're doing. I really love the direction that the show has given to who knows how many other TV shows. I really wish a lot of big studios and franchises actually learned from this. The writing was so sophisticated. The pacing of it was really really good. Um, I'm gonna and also I will start by saying I understand the Star Wars community has given a lot of backlash, has a lot of anger towards Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show, and of course not the character. And also, what was that one, right? The Book of Boba Fett, right? Mandalorian somehow did pretty well, but yeah, it's strange, right? They're pretty much the same character, but yeah, Boba Fett was not liked. And fair enough, he was like, the contention there was that he was like this more sort of neutral, or he was just sort of in it for the money. He wasn't a very moral character, and now they suddenly made him a very moral character. But regardless of that, I would say if I had to rank the shows, I would. I can't remember all of them. I'm not gonna include the animated stuff because that's a different ball game. But among Andor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, I would probably definitely still put the Book of Boba Fett last, but I will say I really liked it. I liked a lot of things about it. But anyway, this one is about Andor, and I would probably say it comes as number one among the four of them, right? Because this was not your cliche Disney, you know, action scene, and it didn't have lazy uh, stories like the Mandalorian. I think the main thing it suffered was a story, a good story. It was really just the character going place to place, getting to know more characters who didn't really have anything very distinguishing about them, right? And at the end, he just completed the task that was sort of assigned to him. While with this, it's a much more emotionally enthralling roller coaster of a journey. And that's what I like so much about Andor. Like, you can see quite a bit about. I mean, yeah, the character. This guy is more of the Boba Fett that people were looking for in Boba Fett, because he's just he's up against the world. He's just he doesn't really care about anything. He's all about just looking after himself, but he does have some kind of a moral code, which is interesting to watch, right? Like what he does at the end, if you know what I mean. um so yeah, I think it was surprising how that show, mm, every time it introduced a character, it spoke quite a lot about them. It introduced them in depth. Now, some of them, I mean, it didn't even really lead to anything, right? Oh, by the way, I'm really bad with names, right? The it started with that guy, the military guy who was sort of on Andor's case, and then he just kind of goes home, and I don't think anything very big. I'm not good with memory either, but I don't think anything really comes out of his whole arc, right? But nonetheless, it's still very sort of refreshing emotionally to watch a character like that go through all these go through situations that, yeah, I mean, they just sort of remind you of your own life. It doesn't have to be this big adventure with this climactic ending. It's just, it is what it is, and sometimes it's just a bunch of emotions that you go through, and then and then you just sort of live your mundane life. So I really liked a lot of the choices it made with these characters. I probably, the only reason I'm not rating it a 10 on 10 would probably be because how some of the older characters and their arcs, they were quite interesting, right? The people back on Andor's home planet, but it all just kind of, they just sort of ignored them entirely, and I did not expect that to happen. I wanted to see a little more of them, his, his bestie chick from back on the home planet. I said I'm bad with names, I mean every word. So yeah, I and the mother figure, all of that. But yeah, but nonetheless, I liked the backstory. That people were kind of irritated, perhaps, with it. I remember reading in a few comments. I can't really say what the real general perception is, but I do remember reading some comments, maybe on the subreddit, saying that oh God, no more flashbacks, please. But yeah, I didn't find this flashback stuff to be too cliche, and I think it may not have been the most original story, but it was sweet, and it just gave depth to the character. And yeah, it was nice. I really liked all that I watched. I liked how the mature themes came in the Star Wars universe, right? With the language, with the sexuality, with also the kind of killing, right? You see Diego Luna anywhere, and you think of like this Narcos, uh, uh, you know, kind of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo character. I was almost scared that it's gonna be a cliched, Narcos sort of thing, but yeah, no, it had. In fact, it was better than Narcos. Dare I say it? Like, it was actually probably better because, yeah, Narcos kind of did the same thing over and over again a little bit after a while. While these guys, they just changed everything. They changed the. Game, guys. I really liked it. Of course, I mean, the story was good. It was about a heist in the end, and already, all right, they do the heist, they come out alive, and all of that. But even like a little bit of the characters that they show, like I actually ended up feeling bad for the Empire. I'm sorry I said it, but like I did, they yeah, that the fat old guy, I can't do names at this point, right? But yeah, I mean, I could actually feel like, okay, despite him being this, and I come from India, right? He was this typical colonial figure, right? I could still sort of feel like, okay, I could feel his pain for his family when he was in this hostage situation, and I could almost feel how these guys were forced into being uh, such hardcore rebels, right? And they had to be pretty cutthroat about what they wanted. So yeah, they were quite revolutionary, and it's kind of similar to the freedom struggle in my own country. I don't want to get into all of that, but I don't know, I just found it all very, very captivating, very, very engrossing. I love the pacing, I love the cinematography, so many of those shots in the mountains. I love the Dhani people, all these little details, and oh my God, how beautifully they captured all of it. All right, I have very little negative stuff to say. I can't even think. I mean, at some point, maybe it was getting a little convoluted. Maybe after, like, Mr. Andor switches planets, suddenly the story changes to something very different, right? They have the murder mystery going on in the very beginning, and it just fizzles out, and now there's all these new characters from the Empire and all these new storylines being introduced. It took me a little bit of, like, I wasn't used to that. I'm used to watching like just cha 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 cha. So it was like that, but overall, all right, I can forgive that. And I think generally, like, the Star Wars fan base does have to be a little more forgiving of, like, whatever um they watch, because I feel like, yeah, there's just no pleasing them sometimes. And honestly, like, I mean, I know I'm changing topics here, but like the previous one, the Kenobi one, that chick was all right. In fact, I really liked her in her entry, and I was quite intrigued. And then I go online and I see people like, oh my God, she can't even act. I'm like, what the fuck, like, even. So whatever. That's on them. I can't change, like, toxicity with one video. But yeah, but still, I really liked how that murder mystery, it really kept me sort of feeling intensely, like, kind of on my toes really about what's going to happen, you know. And then after that, even the heist planning that had a slower build up, but I really liked how you could tell that a climax was coming. And I think this is one thing I couldn't forgive the Book of Boba Fett for, which was that they set up this. They were obviously setting up for a climactic fight at the end, and there was a lot of action, but they did not really go through with what they uh, with the story in a lot of episodes, right? It was all about dealing and negotiating with these clans on Tatooine, and so he formed some kind of a treaty, right, in which of non-involvement from the other clans, and they had a drink over it, and you know, with the rancor under the table and all of that. A little, I mean, that was kind of a mix of what's it called, like slightly cringy, but also slightly awesome. You know, I don't. Those who get it get it. But at the end of that, the clans just aligned with the other side anyway. So what were they setting all that up for? So there was inconsistency there, and it was a little frustrating to watch that for me, to be honest. I still, and also, yeah, I mean, the stuff others like, I don't like. Like, I did not like the re-entry. I was so tired by this point of, what's that blue fucking alien guy? Oh, how can I forget his name even? You know, whatever his name is, dude, the one with the red eyes. Oh god, how can I forget this? Okay, yeah, the gunslinger, right? I mean, it was nice seeing him in Bad Batch and Clone Wars and all of that. You know, I'll agree. It was in fact quite satisfying for me to watch him die. You know, but I was like, finally they'll shut the fuck up with this guy. You know, like, he's always doing the same thing. Like, he just comes, he annoys. He fought Anakin and Obi-Wan, and he just like flew away or some shit like that with that annoying little robot of his. Oh goodness. So yeah, for the life of me cannot remember his name, but whatever it is, you know, I am happy with the direction that the show's taking, or the shows are taking. I hope to see this standard being upheld in all the other content to come, and there's a lot of good content coming up. I hope they don't over milk. I didn't like how in the Book of Boba Fett also they milked Ahsoka Tano and Luke Skywalker sort of coming together. She's just like, and the only explanation of how they know each other is like, she's like, I'm an old friend of the family. uh I mean, that doesn't explain anything, right? Like, she knew his parents when, like, he wasn't even around, and after that she didn't get she had no contact with the family. So it's just such lazy sort of writing, and people, I mean, made good memes out of it. They were like, oh, this is so touching, you know, she's reuniting with his son, but like, I mean, she didn't really know them as a family, guys, come on, you know. So all, yeah, I mean, they do tend to milk that Jedi you know, story, character story, whatever, you know, quite a lot. um but yeah, this show did not do any of that, right? The only slightly familiar characters were like Mon Mothma and this dude Cassian Andor. I knew some names at the end, so yay to me. Yeah, but yeah, all in all, great show, and yeah, what else is left to say, right? So yeah, if you guys have anything you'd like to say to me, if you have anything to agree or disagree with, please leave a comment, and please click the like button or the dislike button. You know, I'd rather that you click the like button personally, but it's your prerogative to click the dislike button. And yeah, what else, man? Like, I always trail my sentences off in the end like this, so